Good evening, Cherries fans. Good evening, Leicester fans. Good evening, Brighton fans. Good evening, Premier League fans. Welcome back to Cherry Picking. And you might notice somebody has joined us today. Firstly, I've got part of my gruesome twosome with me, Matt Harrison. How you doing, mate?
All good, Craig. All good as always.
Excellent. And you probably noticed somebody just down there in that bright yellow Leicester shirt, which, to be honest, I absolutely love that shirt.
Paddy, how the devil are you?
Oh, and he started calling me Paddy from Emmerdale. It is Chris from Leicester Till I Die. How you doing, mate?
I am doing very well. And look, you can't have a go at me for my bright yellow when you've got a bright orange kit. I mean, you obviously didn't get the memo about, coming looking colourful and cheerful. You just come in looking grey and miserable.
But look at this shirt; it's amazing. And you saw me in that new retro shirt as well recently.
All right, that one was okay. That is the Liz Truss of football retro shirts, isn't it?
This one's not a retro shirt. This is this season's away one. I think I'd love this shirt.
You've got no excuse.
It's lilac. It's a colour only associated with old ladies.
Lilac? Where the hell did you learn to say lilac? Lilac? Yeah, lilac.
I think it looks nice. I do like it.
But take that bloody straw out your mouth. It's lilac. Hey, God, I'm wearing lilac is one.
And Chris has started calling me Paddy everybody as well. After Paddy Kirk from Emmerdale. Of course, this has been going around. I was on Leicester Till I Die earlier on, and there was multiple people on there then calling me Paddy. But I'm not bald, although, it's kind of receding up here. I am going to go to the Hair of Istanbul, get it sorted. Matt's coming with me. Sam's coming as well. Matt's going to donate some hair. That all right, Matt?
Yeah. You got more chance of me. I can't say it on air, but yeah.
Do you shave your pube often, Matt?
Do you know what? It's brilliant. I absolutely love having Chris on this show.
We call him a prick when he's not here, but giving him your pubes to put on his head might be taking a bit too far.
At this point in time, I'll take anything. Yeah, it is needed. So, what we'll do, Chris is going to be here with us for a little while. We will speak about the Brighton game. Well, we don't really want to, do we, Matt? But we'll have to cover it, kind of.
You made me talk about the Palace game. You can really talk about the Brighton game.
Yeah, let's talk about the Palace game. Actually, albeit we. Let's be honest, Matt. We're terrible against Palace ourselves, aren't we?
Well, we were the last game. Definitely the last game we were, weren't we?
It was awful in Operation Restart as well, wasn't we?
And that one, yeah.
That was bloody atrocious. So I believe that was 3-0, wasn't it? Or did we get a goal in that? I can't remember now. Try to phase it out.
2-0. Was it 2-0? 2-0, 3-0? I know, it's one of those
weird period, wasn't it?
Yeah, isn't it? So, yeah.
It all blurs into one, but of course Leicester was recently beaten by Palace 3-0, and it prompted Chris's favourite person to be dismissed.
I love the Amex Stadium. It's such a lovely modern stadium, isn't it? Sorry, you're talking about my game now. Okay. I mean, joking aside, we were bloody shit. I mean, in that first half, it's the worst 45 minutes I can remember, and I've seen some bad 45 minutes at Leicester. We were awful. Palace. I mean, talk about a new manager bounce. I think they were all practicing on trampolines. I mean, they just came at us. It was like a scene out of Zulu. They just kept coming over that bloody hill at us. Every time we kicked the ball away, it came back. he left us with another record, which was the biggest number of shots difference between one team and another in a Premier League game. Thank God he's gone. That's all I will say. Bye-bye, Brendan Bellend.
Yeah. Well, I don't know who he's going to rock up at next. We all thought he might go to Chelsea, but he's not going to Chelsea anyway because they've decided to appoint Frank Lampard.
He likes the South Coast. It'd be nice, it's like a retirement Dorset, isn't it? People come down here to retire. Christchurch.
No,
when you're 18 or over.
We don't bloody want him. We don't want him.
I think personally, I'd much rather have Graham Potter.
He's not going to come to Bournemouth, is he?
I know who would really like Scott Parker though.
Yeah, Leicester apparently.
Yeah, or Southampton. Southampton, they quite like him.
They're rubbish already. They don't need it.
Yeah. They don't need Scott.
I was being very nice, but as soon as you mentioned that, you remind me of it with your beard. You remind me of somebody, and I can't think who it is. But I will find out. I will find out before I leave. I'm looking at pictures as I speak.
Honestly,
I've got a funny feeling who he's going to say.
I absolutely love having you on.
His name.
Is it a comedian by any chance?
Might be. I've just remembered his name. Yes. Well, I've not remembered his name. I've just remembered. Yes.
Not the Dorset equivalent of Mickey Flanagan, is it?
No.
No.
I'm trying to think of who Chris might be referring to here. I'm sure we'll come back to it. Shall we have a look at some players?
You get your own back, on a Omid there.
I know who you mean. Oh dear, oh dear.
Come on, that is. If you're Paddy, he looks more like Omid than you look like Paddy.
Who?
Omid. I don't know. Dajali is. I can never say the surname.
Omid Dajali.
Yeah. Let me show you this. There we go.
There we go. Is this going to look like?
There we go.
Oh.
Is it not? Is it not?
There is a bit of a resemblance there.
There's no Paddy, in fairness.
To be honest, I look nothing like Paddy from Emmerdale, Paddy Kirk. But everybody goes on about it.
Omid now, you can call him Omid.
Omid, there we are. Well, shall we start off?
Well, Craig, how about we have a quick look at the table? Shall I bring the table up? Discuss the table quickly.
Bring the table up, Matt. There we are.
Look how strong you are, holding everybody up.
Yes, the strongest team in the league, Southampton.
Indeed.
But you're the second strongest.
Pointer, isn't it?
Yeah. It's having a look at, and I know you've asked me this question, Chris. I'm going to ask you this question back. Looking at that table, is there a way out for Leicester?
No.
Fair enough.
Well, my answers are a lot shorter than yours. No, I mean, I earlier we had a thing where we did the predictions on our show. If you remember, we did have some in green, some in red, whether the ex-players or whatever you thought we would stay up or go down. I think this decision should have been taken quite a while ago. There was plenty of opportunity at the start of the season, but he had a reasonable back end of last season, so it probably kept him in a job. Before the World Cup, we had a pretty decent run, although it was against teams that we should have been beating. Then we had, of course, the 2 wins against Villa and Tottenham. So there just seemed to sort of just, when you thought he might go, he had just a couple of wins or something happened and he had a good run. But he should have gone. We've been playing absolutely crap for months now. Is 10 games, left when he left, was that sort of not enough? If you're Watford, no, because you can do that when you've only got 2 games left, can't you? So I don't know. I just think it's the question I always say is when you're looking at relegation, it's always, are there 3 teams worse than you? And the problem is no. We have lost to Southampton twice this season, and yet they're the worst team in the Premier League. We lost to you. We've lost to Nottingham Forest. We lost to Palace. We are not beating the teams that are around us. You seem to be able to pull the odd victory out here and there. It was like Liverpool, what have you. We don't. I really do think that we have to go down to maybe come back up again, and rebuild that way. A bit like Burnley are doing.
What has gone wrong, though? So wrong because, of course, the first spell that we were in the Premier League, in fact, our first ever Premier League season, if you cast your mind back to that, and like this time round, so this is our first season back, our first season ever, Leicester was sitting top of the league and pretty. What the hell has gone wrong?
2 words, Brendan Rodgers. All right, I'm being probably a little tad unfair. We've relied, part of our policy is that we buy players in at a reasonable price, and then a big club will come in and pay us a ridiculous price for them. That is part of the way we run the club. We don't have a huge stadium, so we have to be careful of FFP. We didn't sell Tielemans when he was at the top of his game. The Tielemans that if we'd sold after the FA Cup would have got us a lot more money than the Tielemans now. Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to get nothing for him. That's let's be honest. But even if we were able to sell him, he wouldn't be worth as much now because he's not as good as he was. So that season we didn't sell anybody. That really sort of hurt us financially. COVID hurt us because obviously our owners are in the tourism business, so they absolutely got plastered. And we only just managed to avoid FFP last season when we were in Europe. Yeah. Now, we were all right with the Premier League because they sort of allowed a bit, because if you buy a women's team or you've got a women's team, you're allowed a little bit more, etc., etc. So we're all right with that. But of course, last year we finished 8th, so the chances were that we were looking at possibly Europe again. Mm-hmm. Now, if we'd got into Europe, we UEFA could have done us with the UEFA FFP, which is a lot worse than the Premier League one. So we could not go out and buy any players because we couldn't sell it. We had 27 players. Okay. So we had to sell before we could buy. Not because we hadn't got the money, but because we hadn't got the squad places. And we would have then been paying players on a lot of money, and we weren't even picking them in the squad. So that's why we didn't do any business in the summer. And the chairman kind of hung Brendan out to dry a little bit in that. But this is still the team that won the FA Cup. Still most of that team. So it was his method. It was his, no disrespect, he was outthought by Gary O'Neill in what you said it was his 3rd or 4th game. He'd never been a manager. And there was this supposedly top coach in Brendan Rodgers that couldn't outthink him or out-tactic him. We kept getting so many injuries because of the training ground, because his training is just so intense. Wesley Fofana said when we signed him, came over, he could not believe how intense the training is. And people were just getting in, they're coming back from, Johnny Evans, he came back the other day, came on for the last 5 minutes, was fine, went training the next day, got injured. And yet nobody in the hierarchy was looking at it and going, what's going on here with all these injuries? You know, I at one point I thought we had Harold Shipman as our club doctor. I'm not on screen when I said that one, but but that's what it was like. It wasn't on the pitch injuries when we had a couple of those. It was like all these other injuries. And I know Top wanted to stay with him and give him a bit longer because he felt he'd let him down. In the summer, we're not supporting him. The problem was Top should have come out and said something at the start of the season. He didn't. He left it until the Manchester United game, which was transfer deadline day. Then put it in his notes in the programme. By then, everybody had got an anti-Brendan head on, and once you got that in your mind, then it's not gonna. Then it's not. It's going to stick if you like. So I do blame Top for that, but. There we go. In a nutshell, Brendan Rodgers, 90% his fault.
To be honest, Leicester was such a well-run side, and under Viche, God rest his soul, what he did for Leicester City Football Club was phenomenal. It was well run. Do you think that's been lost since sad passing?
100%. I like you write for the BBC every Tuesday, and I did one. I'm going back about 7, 8 weeks, and it basically the title was Brendan Rodgers, Get Out of My Club. That's how much I wanted him out, and I was sticking by him last season, but there comes a point where you can't. And I was fed up with writing the same thing week in, week out. And I thought, what the hell am I going to write about this Tuesday? And of course, we sacked him, so it gave me something to write about. But we were the club that everybody looked at and went, we need to model ourselves on Leicester.
Yeah.
And I came out, I do a show called Life's the Pitch, which is basically my Piers Morgan impression. I just come on and I have a rant about anything that I need to have a rant about. And I said on Sunday morning, the show went out 1:00. I said, Top, grow a pair and sack Brendan Rodgers. I said, you're like Nero, you're fiddling while Leicester's burning. Palace have made the decision, look what's happened. 10 minutes after I finished that show, he sacked him. So obviously Top watches me, so good evening, Top. And I said in that show, as well as go a pair and what have you, I said, your legacy is going to be ruined at this club. We want to remember the King Power Group and your family as, what you gave us, which was an FA Cup at the 5th attempt, Europe for a couple of seasons in a row, quarterfinals of the Champions League, semi-finals of the Europa Conference, Premier League winning season. And yet, yes, you've done all that, but you're only as good as the last season. And, if you get relegated, you've then got that on your CV as well. But that said, it was only a month or so ago that he took £190 million worth of debt off the club and transferred it into shares. So, you can see there's not a shortage of money. You can see there's no lack of commitment from him to the club. But I just think it was a misguided loyalty. Like I say, he felt that he hadn't supported Brendan, but it was that third season syndrome that everybody was telling us about him.
Well, what I think we should do is we should have a look at a couple of players that have played for both. There's not many, but we had, during our preview and during my appearance on your show, we did talk about one particular player that we think quite fondly of. I'll hold it fire for the moment, but one player that we think very fondly of that Leicester fans can't stand, and you can tell us why. But let's bring this up. So, play for the Cherries and the Foxes. There he is, the first one. Matt's preempted it. So, Matt, I tell you what, let's go to you first. What did you think of Yann Kermorgant?
For me, he was a cult hero in his short time at Bournemouth. Scored some good goals. Become quite a fan's favourite down there. He was a personal favourite of mine, to be honest.
Yeah.
I really like the player, so I'd be very interested to hear what Chris has got to say.
I've got to be honest, I echo everything you say, Matt, because I said exactly the same to Chris. Chris, the stage is yours, mate.
The guy's a wanker. Sorry for swearing. And I think you've actually got the right picture there of him. I think he was signed. He was one of those players, you know, when you hear players are signed off their YouTube videos. I think it was a little bit like that, not totally. But he came to Leicester. He struggled a little bit. He wasn't really a sort of a first team regular, but we'd come back up from the League One, and we'd got through to the playoff finals. Somehow we'd got through, and the following season we were playing Cardiff. And I can't remember the score, but it went to penalties. And it came down to take the penalties, and Yann Kermorgant, who is a striker, so should be taking penalties, very bravely went up to take a penalty. Now, this is to go through to a playoff final. He chooses that particular moment to do a Panenka. It was that bad that the Cardiff goalkeeper dived down, had time to get back up again and collect the ball.
Yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
He walked back to the centre circle. Not one Leicester City player went to console him. Martin Waghorn then went up for our... because that was the fourth penalty. Martin Waghorn, who we'd got on loan, and funnily enough went on to buy the following season, a bit of a fan favourite. He scored quite a few goals, stood up to take the penalty, well, straight over the bar. Not sort of road double Z or anything like that, but it went over the bar. And nobody hated him. The players were going over and, you know, consoling him, and we went and bought him, like I say, I think, you know, 3 million off Wigan or Sunderland, I don't remember where now. But at least he made the effort. You know what I mean? When you're in that situation, put your bloody laces through the ball. Don't. And I did say to Paddy earlier that if he'd actually scored it, of course he would have been a hero. But if you're going to take a penalty, at least do it properly. If we're 4-0 up in penalties and it's the fifth penalty, then yeah, have a go with it. But he tried it; it didn't come off. The guy's a wanker, and I hope we never have to see him anywhere near Leicester again. Apart from that, I believe he's a very nice guy.
If I remember rightly, Craig, I think during the championship winning season, he scored a 30-yard free kick at Brighton?
Yes, he did.
And he scored an overhead kick against, was it Ipswich?
Yeah, Ipswich. It was, wasn't it 2-2 that game? No,
I think it was the first season we were in just after he signed for us, the first season we were in the championship. I think he scored an overhead kick. Yeah, I mean, I've got great recollection of
same here.
Yann. So
yeah, to be honest, Chris, I think he was brilliant.
No, but in fairness, he never took a bloody stupid penalty the way for you that he did for us. In a game that would have got us to Wembley and possibly got us promoted to the Premier League. You know, if he'd done that for you, because he never played for us again after that, did he go to... I don't think he went straight from us to you. I think he went somewhere else first.
Charlton, I think, isn't it?
Charlton Athletic.
But anyway, if he'd done that for you, would you have loved him?
Well, he scored penalties for us, Chris.
No, if he'd done what he did for Leicester, if he'd gone up for you and taken a penalty and tried that penalty and missed it, let's say, in that season you needed to stay up when Eddie Howe got you up, and it came down to the last game of the season, and a win, it was 1-1, and a win would have taken you and kept you up, or a loss would have put you in, a draw would have put you into the conference. He'd done that and missed it. Would you still love him?
Absolutely not.
Exactly.
No.
I rest my case, Your Honour.
Yeah. I guess you didn't do too badly out of it though, because you did win the Premier League a couple of years after that.
That was nothing to do with him.
Well, no, not with him. Not with Yann. With Yann, but
no. Not Nigel Pearson. I mean, I love Nigel Pearson. I'd have him back till the end of the season, but he just got rid of him.
Yeah.
He's off. The Leicester fans hated him. The Leicester players hated him, and yeah. Goodbye, Yann. He had his own song. He had his own song about how bad he was. That's how much we hated him. It's on YouTube still. Search it.
Right, fair. Well, there we go. Everybody is going to have to watch it now because, to be honest, we just thought he was bloody brilliant for us. But
in fairness, all right, look, let's be serious now. In fairness, players do well with one club. I mean, look at Torres at Liverpool.
Yeah,
and then look at the Torres at Chelsea. You wouldn't think it was the same player, would you?
No, completely agree.
In fairness, he was never going to come back again from that at Leicester. But fair play, he did it all for Bournemouth. Were you in the third tier when he joined you?
No, we was in the Championship.
Okay, fair enough. But no, fair play. He did well for you, but we just can't stand him.
Well, let's have a look at the next player because I'm sure you want me to get him off the screen. Ian Andrews. Yes. Memories?
Not any at all. I'm not that old. I mean, come on. Funnily enough, we had him on my show, didn't we? Well, not him. Yes. But he was the guest player. And we're going back to 82, which was around my time. But, I'm in my 60s now. I'm lucky if I can remember what I had for breakfast, let alone who was in goal for us in 1982. But he did come back in 97 and played absolutely no games for us in 4 years that he was with us. No, 5 years he was with us. He never played a game. I guess he was like that third choice keeper at that point, just in case. And I don't think we were going through our best years in the at the end of the 90s. But no, I don't really have many memories of him at all. I do apologise on that. But he's a Leicester player, so we love him. He's not a Yann Kermorgant.
I was going to say, you got to love Yann if he's played for Leicester.
No,
Matt,
you haven't.
Of course, we were very young when he played for us. But what memories did you have of Ian?
I vaguely remember watching him. He was brought in by Mel Machin after the Great Escape season of 94-95.
Yeah.
And he only played the one season for Bournemouth, and I do believe his wife was very ill. I might be wrong, I might be getting him confused with somebody else, but from what I can remember, he left the club at the end of that season and went back to Leicester due to his wife not being very well. I think she may have passed, possibly. A little while later, but I think that was his main reason why. I think he was quite happy to go back to Leicester as like third choice goalkeeper or something. Like Chris said, he never played for Leicester, did he? When he went back. So very small memories of him. I do remember him being quite. I remember my dad saying he was a decent keeper when we were at games.
He played a lot for us in that first spell with us. He was our regular starter.
Yeah. When you see, I mean, he's. I don't think he played. how many games did he play for Bournemouth? I can't remember. I don't think he actually played the whole season of games. I think there was reasons why he didn't. But yeah, I have very vague memories of him.
Well, let's have a look at the next one. And
Hey.
yeah, we remember him. Should we start with Chris? Chris, Max Gradle memories.
Love this guy. Didn't really get a chance with us. I think he was at Leeds for a while as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Came over. I can't remember when he was with us, but you sometimes say, "Or one that got away." I think he was one of those. It was a time looking at that strip. Yes, I've got that strip as well. Looking at the time when we were not going through our better years. Let me just say that. I think it may even have been when we got relegated to the third tier. But I absolutely, I wish we'd kept hold of him. And when he sort of went to you guys, and then I think he went to Leeds after you, didn't he? I wish we'd kept hold of him. I did, He is one, for me, one that got away.
Go on, Matt. You do the honours.
Well, his first spell when he was on loan with us, I think a lot of people remember him making the BBC National News with Brett Pitman because they were arguing over who was going to take the penalty. I think Max Gradle won the penalty, but obviously Brett Pitman was the penalty taker, so it actually made the 9 o'clock news, them two having a little scrap on the pitch over the football, who was going to take the penalty. But no, he was absolutely class in his first spell. Really tricky little player, a lot of pace on him. Not a bad cross of the ball, popped up with a couple of good goals as well, if I remember rightly. His second spell with us, not so memorable. A lot of injuries, and then I think he fell out of favour in his second season with us and eventually went out on loan again, didn't he? Obviously, he's played for the, is it the Ivory Coast, I believe?
It was, yeah.
Which I believe he also captained the international side a few times as well. But he had a quite successful career in French football, in the French top division. So yeah, but his first spell was definitely memorable for me. We all wanted to sign him up, but obviously back then we didn't have a lot of money, so signing him permanently was not an option, which was a shame. But yeah, everything happens for a reason, and we got to see him again later on when his career developed a bit more.
He only actually played 27 games for us, but then it was the Martin Allen years. So
Martin Allen,
yeah. So say no more.
But yeah, great player.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, we invited on Billy Reeves, who a Brentford fan, and we spoke about Martin Allen, and Martin Allen was remembered by everybody really as Mad Dog, wasn't he?
That's
But
right.
Martin Allen hated that.
He came to us when we had Milan Mandrić own the club.
Yeah.
And he just did not get on with Milan Mandrić. Milan Mandrić was the Ted Bowie of his day. Apparently, Milan Mandrić walked into the training ground one day, and Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank was sat in the reception. And he goes, "Hello." Hello. He said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "Oh, I'm come to sign for the club." And he knew nothing about it. And he fell out with Milan Mandrić. And, of course, he was sacked not long after. But I can remember we went up to, in fact, it's when I've got the signed shirt by Milan. It was when I got the signed shirt. We were playing Accrington in the League Cup, whichever version of it was at that point. And I don't know if you've ever been to Accrington's ground, but it makes Dean Court look like, or the Vitality Stadium look like Wembley. I mean, it was awful. And the Leicester players were out training, and Martin Allen was sort of stood watching it going ahead. and the team was announced, and I got my son with me. Now, my son at that point would have probably been about 10, something like that. And he went, Dad, why is so-and-so and so-and-so playing? And I said, I've absolutely no idea. Baffle is one of those, I don't know what the hell he's doing on the pitch. I said, oh, look, I said, Martin Allen's there, go and ask him. He went, I can't do that. I said, what's the worst he can do? The worst he can do is that he says, I can't tell you. So he trotted on over, and Martin Allen then had like a 15-minute conversation with him, explaining him all his tactics for the game. My son came back absolutely grinning from ear to ear, and it made his day. And you sometimes forget that, the manager that you see on, the touchline or in the press conferences, or, for the reputations, are not the managers themselves, if you like.
Yes.
He didn't have to do that. He could have said, no, mate, I'm sorry, bad time, I'm busy, I'm watching the guys train. And he might have done if it was an adult or somebody, but, this 10-year-old guy went up to him in his Leicester shirt and everything, and he took that time, and it made my son's day.
Yeah, definitely. And, to be fair, that's what we was told, was that he was such a nice man.
Yeah.
Even though he had this tag that followed him around, he was quite good friends with Mandarich, wasn't he? Wasn't he with him at Portsmouth as well?
No.
There was a link there, wasn't there?
Not that I know of. So they didn't get on because that's why he left,
Oh, maybe there we are. That shows what Ollie bloody know about Martin Allen.
I'm not saying I'm no Matthew. Do you know what I mean? But Martin Allen. When he came into the club, one of his first instructions was that all the plants outside the ground had to be dug up and replaced with blue and white ones.
Fair enough.
Not the top of most managers' to-do list, is it?
Although saying that, there is a great, and I'll tell you what, anybody who wants a bit of a laugh, have a search for the Dean Saunders story about Brian Clough.
Oh, God.
Do you like flowers, son? I like flowers. I think
Oh.
that's probably quite a good impression. That.
Have you seen the Mark Crossley one about Brian Clough? Google that one as well. That is better than the Dean Saunders one.
We actually had Mark Crossley on, so yeah, he's honestly the Brian Clough stories.
Every play, they're classics, aren't they? Every single one's a classic.
Matt had the honour of interviewing Mark Crossley, even though, of course, he did play for Nottingham Forest, who you're very fond of, Chris.
Yes, I wasn't going to mention that, but thank you so very much for doing so.
Let's have a look at the next one.
Come on, thanks.
It's basketball.
Well, you'll recognise that man, Chris, won't you?
Did he play for Bournemouth?
He did.
On 2 occasions, might I add. His career.
I did not. Did I see him come up when I searched it?
His actual career started down on the south coast with
he played for Portsmouth, didn't he?
Yeah, he played for Bournemouth and Weymouth when he first started out as a youngster in the 80s.
He played 7 games for you.
Yeah.
And then Weymouth, yes. Oh my God, I hadn't picked up on that. What a guy! Totally nuthead. But he looked like he looked like the dad that's turned up on a Sunday to watch his son play, and he said, "I'll get on and ref the game." He looks like that, doesn't he?
Yeah. That picture of him there playing it like for Bournemouth, that's him warming up. He signed a short-term contract just to make his 1,000th professional league appearance. So he played about 75 minutes that game. I think it was against Port Vale, and then got subbed off, and then we never saw him again.
Nobody played for you back in 84, 85.
84, 85, yeah.
85, we played 7 games, and then he came back to you as well.
Yeah, that's 2005, 2006, I believe.
2006-7 season,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fair play. Oh, fair play to Bournemouth for putting him on and letting him get that record. You know, that achievement. Fair play to you.
I think we had so many injuries at the time. I think he was doing us a favour.
Well, he played one, scored none, so he obviously wasn't able to shin a goal for you like he did for us a couple of times.
But he was a tough player, but a good player. Good quality player. And, of course, enjoyed so many good days at Leicester.
Yes, he did. And that famous shin, which he claims he never said. When he scored the goal against Palace, he said he shinned it in, and now he's saying he never, he didn't do. But yeah, again, another one, if he came in, I'd have his babies. I love the guy. Never quite made it as a manager. He was at Salisbury not so long ago, but I think he's left there now as well.
He
managed that other great club on the south coast, Portsmouth, and of course Weymouth as well. But yeah, no, I mean, the guy got us. He got us back into the Premier League. The guy won us the League Cup and got us into Europe. What more can you say about him? He's a leg end. He really is.
Well, like you say, he managed the other decent club on the south coast, of course, Portsmouth. There's some weird place in between, but I don't know where that is. Do you know where that is? The weird place in between Portsmouth and Bournemouth. We don't go there.
A lovely shopping centre. I'll give him that. That's what I think about the football team, doesn't it? I went to watch a game there, and I was sat underneath a hole in the roof, and I got wet through because the rain was coming through. But I also, in fact, every time I seemed to go to Southampton, it pees down because it was absolutely teeming with rain when we beat them 9-0.
It's just a shit place to go, really.
Yes, I won't argue with that. But that was one. There's a couple of games that when I was with Sean, my son, and I can say I shared those moments with him. First one was the 5-3 when we came back and beat Man United in our first season up in the Premier League, and the second one was the 9-0.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also the Community Shield win at Wembley.
Yeah.
I just, when you get to share, and again, let's say it's down to Top and the King Power that I shared those moments with my kid. I never thought that, as you know, I mean, I've just retired today, taken early retirement, and I never thought that before I shift off this mortal coil that I would ever see my team win the top division, win the FA Cup. We'd had 4 attempts at it. We were never going to do it. I've actually been at, I went to Wembley years ago to watch us win the League Cup, but to win the Community Shield, it just meant more. I'd been on my own and seen us lose that to Manchester United, but to go there and then beat the other side of Manchester, it was just, I mean, we owe the owners so much, we really do.
Yeah, well, it's something that we can dream of. One day it might happen. The
thing is, though, look, I mean, did you ever think you'd be in the top flight?
No.
Exactly. And look, like I said, when I moved down, and I was first thing that I remember reading about Bournemouth was, I say, the players and fans with buckets outside the pavilion collecting money, and to go from there all the way up to, I mean, when I moved out, because I worked for the Echo at the time, and there's so many fans that were Bournemouth fans, but also then fans of other clubs. So you'd have a Bournemouth fan who was also one of my mates was then fan of Arsenal, and I kept saying to him like, "What? Why are you doing it? You can't support two teams." And he turned around to me one day and he said, "Look, this was never supposed to happen."
Hmm.
I moved, my family sort of, my dad supported Arsenal, so therefore I supported Arsenal. But I couldn't get to go and see Arsenal, so I went to watch Bournemouth, started watching Bournemouth. Obviously, then I got a liking for them, and I keep an eye out for a few of the clubs where I've sort of worked and been to see. But he said we've never seen, almost never been in the Premier League. So you dream those. This is why things like the Super League, European Super League, and all that shit, why it annoys me, because this is what football is all about. Bournemouth being in the Premier League, Leicester winning the Premier League. If you take that out of football, you've got nothing.
Exactly. So, it's honestly, Chris, it's been absolutely great to have you on tonight. I know that you might have to head off soon because it is 20 past 11.
This is the third show I've done with you in one day.
Exactly.
It's nice to have Matt along and have another face to look at. I don't think he's an Iranian comedian. And if I known he was wearing that top, I'd have put my sunglasses on.
No, honestly, mate, you're welcome anytime. No doubt we will do a free-for-all. We'll discuss the game, be it win, lose, or we're all miserable because we've drawn.
I am really not looking forward to it. If we lose, my camera might not work for Talk TV, I'll tell you.
I've got to be honest, I'm nervous as well, but slightly a little bit more optimistic than you. But yeah,
as well, because you've had some good results, and you can seem to pull a win out every now and again. We can't. I say we couldn't beat the Rose and Crowns ladies 5-a-side secondary at the moment.
Duck Athletic.
Yeah.
After a heavy night.
But like I said earlier, do you know what? If we get relegated, we get relegated. I've seen us sort of relegated to the third tier. Look, you guys have been in worse trouble, and at the end of the day, we're still alive. We still go and watch football without the fear of being bombed or shot, and we should accept that it is a game of football. We love it. We stick by our side. There's three things I've always said that men sort of love in this life. One of them is the kids, but they grow up and move home anyway and bugger off. Second one is your partner, but let's be honest with you can get rid of them and divorce them and get a new one if you want to. Third one's your football team. You're stuck with that throughout. But you've got to remember it's just a game, and there's people worse off than us. So if we get relegated, you know what? We've still got a club. Think of Bury and teams like that haven't anymore.
Very true. Very, very true, mate. Well, we will see you no doubt on Sunday, or we'll catch up at some point to discuss the game.
Well, hopefully we'll see you next season. Don't know where that's going to be, but hopefully it will still be in the top division.
I hope so. Just make sure that lot down the M27 go down. I think they're doing that.
We couldn't beat them, so I can't say anything. But I do wish you well for the rest of the season. I hope we fucking stuff you on Saturday 9-0. But I do hope that you stay up, if only because it's like a home game for me, and it's a 10-minute drive away. But no, I do wish you the best for the rest of the season, and hope that we are playing each other in the Premier League next season.
Yeah, and likewise, Chris. Thanks so much for coming on, cherry picking. Pleasure to have you as always.
Pleasure, and Omid as well. Thank you so much for having me on. Take care, guys.
All the best, Chris. Cheers, mate. Thank you so much. So, I tell you what, that was great. It's great when Chris comes on. We better discuss. Well, do we want to discuss Tuesday?
Let's cover it off quickly.
Yeah.
Let's make it not.
Oh, a poor night at. I always call it Dean Court still. I don't know why.
Yeah, I do
It is,
normally.
yeah. But yes, it was a bloody awful night on Tuesday. I went into it, and let's just cover off how we went into this game. I went into it with a little bit of optimism that we was going to play that team, or that actually beat Fulham in that second half. And what did Gary do?
He twinkers the team too much, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I'm all up for making changes sometimes. Sometimes you got to, but I mean, why did he not start the side that played the second half?
completely agree.
That's the bit. I mean, I didn't understand bringing Traore in.
Yep.
To be honest with you, I didn't understand why he subbed Christie when he did.
Yep.
Because I thought Dongo at the time wasn't really making much impact in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Christie's work ethic was there.
Yeah.
He was having the greatest game, but his work ethic was there. I think this just boils down to Gary O'Neill's weaknesses at the moment is personnel. And looking at the first half, was it slightly worse than the first half against Fulham?
Well,
a bit of optimism. Like I always say, sometimes, we've got to go 1-0 down to kickstart ourselves, which isn't right, but this season seems to be how it's been played out. So when we went 1-0 down, I wasn't so worried because I thought, might kickstart us a little bit now. Didn't for the rest of that half. The second half, we kind of come out with a bit of a burst of energy, but it didn't seem to last, did it?
No.
Like you say, on the back of the Fulham victory, now we've got to give Brighton credit where credit's deserved. Now, you're not pushing for a possible European place like they are with, by playing poorly, are you?
No, league table don't tell lies, really.
No, of course it doesn't. I thought they got a few players in that squad that are pretty decent players. I say pretty decent. I mean, one of them Arsenal offered 80 million for, so that's a bit more than pretty decent. But the kiddie that was on the right, for him, I can't say his name. You know me and these names, Craig. Begins with an M.
Mitoma.
What a class player. But then I thought he was class when we went up to the Amex. I thought he was class in that game as well. Even though I thought we were the better side at the Amex and we should have got something. But it was a totally different game this time around. Unfortunately for us. I mean, a draw would have kept the confidence there, wouldn't it?
It would have. See, in the preview, I did. We did discuss Mitoma. Of course, Mitoma scored the goal at the Amex against us. And to be fair, we were the better side that day, like we've all said. But for that last 10 minutes, we just went too defensive, allowed Brighton to pile on the pressure, and you can't do that against that sort of side. I don't think we did that on Tuesday. I think Brighton were on top form. McAllister was a player that, both myself and Damien, who was our preview guest, said we need to keep quiet. We didn't really keep him quiet. But you've also got to look at, and here's one player that I really do rate, and is probably not undervalued because Brighton fans value him, but I'm trying to think of the word. But he's underrated effectively, isn't he? Solly March.
Oh yeah. I thought he played really well down that flank.
Yeah, I think Solly March is absolute quality. I think he's excellent. Lewis Dunk, of course, at the back as well. He's a very, very good player. Brighton overall, Matt, are a very, very good side. They're in a FA Cup semi-final against Manchester United. You don't get there just by chance. There's a chance that they could get European football. Of course, Everton and Tottenham got themselves a draw between those two. So Brighton are right in this to actually go and get European football. It's probably going to be Europa League, but to be even in contention of a Champions League place is, quite something. Quite something for a side like Brighton. And, I'll throw this question out to you, Matt. Because I think they'll probably get Europa League. They are a very good side. They're in good form. Do you think? Where do you think Brighton will finish? Do you think they will finish? They've got that chance of the Champions League spot.
I think they'll be pipped to the Champions League.
Mm-hmm. Not by Spurs, though. I can't imagine Spurs pipping them because I think Spurs are poor. The team that, if they're going to be sounded out, is going to be Man United.
Yeah. I think with the season Man United are having, obviously they've won the Carabao Cup, haven't they?
Yep.
Still in with a shout of the Europa League, aren't they? And also they're in the FA Cup semi-final against Brighton. So I think 3 trophies and 4th place for Man United will be a pretty decent start to Ten Hag's reign. So they will be gunning for that fourth spot, 3rd spot. Newcastle, which, I laughed at you at the beginning of the season when you said they can get Champions League. I was like, don't talk so much rubbish. Turning out you're right. I think they will pip Brighton maybe to it. Obviously Chelsea aren't in with any chance.
No.
Spurs can't see it. So yeah, I think between sort of Man United, Newcastle and Brighton, they're the ones in with that shout. But I think it'd be the 2 northern clubs that will pip the southern club to it, to be honest.
I should have had that bet with Harry that Newcastle would finish 3rd.
You should have done.
Yeah. See, I thought I'd never bet against Harry Redknapp because, but that it was a bold statement. And it was a bold statement, I can claim to say first before the season even kicked off. So I'll just take that personal pride. Let's have a look. This is the best ratings I get. Who agrees with Neto's poor score of under 6? I don't agree with Neto being under 6. I think the 2 class saves.
I think that's enough match award, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, he should have been scored at least a 7.5, 8.
Yeah.
Just for those 2 saves. I mean, if not, it would have been it would have been easily a 4-0 victory to Brighton if he hadn't pulled those 2 off. I think there might have been 3 decent saves he made in that second half. So I mean, I don't agree with Neto's, definitely.
I think Billings could have been a little bit higher. I don't think Billings had the worst of games. Solanke maybe could have been a little bit lower because I just think he had chances to actually put the ball in the back of the net and just he's not been firing. And this is the concern, and this is why, because when I was on Chris's show, we was discussing who would go down, and Craig, who was on Leicester, not me, but the Leicester fan, Craig, said that we would go down, and the main reason being is because we don't have an out-and-out goal scorer. We've got to find that quite quickly, because I think, this Kiefer Moore situation needs to be sorted out. I think Kiefer Moore is a good target man. I did have my doubts whether or not he was a Premier League player at the start of the season. Still have probably some nagging doubts about that. Semenyo is untested, really, at this level. He still needs to bed in. He's only had bit parts to play. We saw a really good short display from him a couple of weeks ago. Since then, not really much. But we need to start finding goals and an out-and-out goal scorer from somewhere.
Yeah, no, you're right. I don't think we're finding it within the squad this season, to be honest with you. I know people have said about Semenyo.
Semenyo.
Can't see it being him.
No.
That is, for me, if we stay up, that has got to be Richard Hughes's main objective in this next transfer window.
Yes.
Get an out-and-out goal scorer. No matter who he is, where he's from, how old he is, if you know how to put the ball in the net, you could be 18 or you could be 32, 34. If you know how to put the ball in the net, no matter what age you are, it never leaves you. And you need to get an out-and-out goal scorer into this team. If not, then you're relying on too much of the likes of Binning to pop up with the goals for you. Whereas, we've got enough wingers and wide players. We've got enough midfielders. Yes, you could argue you might want to bring in a centre-back, which would be the second of my objectives of the window, would be to bring in a centre-back. Your goalkeeper situation's absolutely fine. So that's the two areas where I'd strengthen. Also, a right-back. I think because Smithy got caught out a hell of a lot lately.
Yeah.
In certain games, which, the guy is an absolute credit to the club. But I think if we stay up, we're going to need to bring in another right back to provide competition. Fredericks can't ever seem to be staying fit. Stacey doesn't seem to be favoured. So obviously we need to look at the future and bring in a nice, decent right back. Probably early 20s to try and get some years out of him.
Yeah.
So that's where I'd be looking at strengthening. But the goal side of it is, Solanke had such a great season last year, but it's not proven to be that this year. And I think for me, you can't fault Solanke for his effort in games. But I think if you played an out-and-out striker off of Solanke, he'd create that strike all day. I don't know whether I would knock his score down there any lower, to be fair to the guy. But for Christie to play not the full 90 minutes and end up scoring the highest out of all the Bournemouth players does sort of back my point up of why did O'Neill bring him off.
Completely agree with you
His work ethic was fantastic, whereas Dongo just didn't seem to be really with it. He hasn't been, the last couple of games hasn't been himself, which he is a quality player. He'll be back on form at some point. I would have brought him off and Was it Brooksy he brought Christie off for? Was it?
Yes.
I
Yeah.
remember now. You know, so I mean, for me, I'd have brought Brooks on for Dongo. I mean, I would have done that at half time, or Tavernier, to be fair. Probably would have brought
Yeah.
Tavernier on for Dongo, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I think Tavernier that come on eventually for Christie, wasn't it? Which way round it was, to be fair.
I'm trying to remember because didn't Brooks? Yeah, Brooks come on for Traore, didn't he? He was just playing behind Solanke.
That's right.
Yeah, sorry, I've got that. Yeah, I just had a thought. Yeah, it was Brooks for Traore. He was just playing behind Solanke. That didn't work. So when we mixed it up again, then Brooks went over to the right.
Yeah. But I mean, nothing much more to really look at with this, is there? I mean, it was just a poor game.
Yeah, and let's have a look at, and I'll read through this. So manager Gary O'Neill told Match of Day, the consequences are if you don't take your chances, you have to push hard and you can get caught. Their boy takes a really difficult chance. We had some good chances we didn't take. And he told the Daily Echo, we missed some big chances. They converted one very difficult one in the first half. We missed some real good ones. Consequence of that, obviously, towards the end, you need to push because you're 1-0 down. Brighton are a good side when you open up spaces a little bit. So we had a good go at it, I thought. My thoughts on this. Personally, I do think we had some good chances. Traore did have a good chance. It's quite interesting. The Brighton fans don't think we played too badly. They said that, we're a decent side. So they might be seeing this a little bit differently to the way we are. The problem is Smithy was getting caught all day long against Mitoma. Mitoma was excellent, and I mean excellent. He's a very intelligent player, like we were saying.
Yes.
And I did do a little bit of research actually, because I know you mentioned that he's got like a degree. He certainly does.
I think he studied one particular position or one particular
dribbling.
role on the pitch. What did he study?
Dribbling.
Well, you can see that, can't you?
Yeah. See, what he was doing against Smithy was he was waiting for the ball, and if the ball was flying over him, he was just waiting. He wasn't actually, challenging right up. He wasn't pushing Smithy. He was just standing off him, and then at a particular time, bang, he moved. Of course, because Smithy's watching it in the air, Matoma's just come straight in, taking it away, and he's got that to a T. If you watch those goals or his performance again, just watch. There was one ball, and I think it was around about 70 minutes, flies over Smithy's head. Smith is watching it, and then Matoma just moves at a certain point and just takes it away from him. With regards to the second goal, I think that was a real cock-up between Stevens and Smith. Smithy at the end, whilst Encensio was, I think that's how you say it, Encensio was putting it in the back of the net, or, when he was one-on-one with Neto, he didn't really put in a challenge. I would have liked to have seen him just put his foot there. It wasn't going to be hard for Smithy to actually try and put a foot on the ball. Yes, it might have gone in the back of the net. Yes, he might have taken a fatal knock to put it as an own goal. But at the same time, I'd rather him try and make that attempt to try and stop that goal for the team.
Yeah, no, I mean, totally agree with you there. But do you know what? Reading this, I can use one word to sum this up.
Go on.
Clinical.
Yeah, completely agree. We need to be more clinical.
Like I said, all season, you look at the team sheet every week and you ask yourself, where are the goals coming from? If it ain't Billing and it ain't Solanke, or Tavs, as it has been recently, there's no one person that's really leading the goal scoring, is there?
No,
Well,
no.
not a person that should be anyway. You know, and this goes back to like the chances we're missing. You look at the chances when you play back the chances when you actually get home from the game and you see like the rerun on Sky or whatever.
Mm.
You're kicking yourself still when you get home when you see the chances we've missed. It's like I think the chance Solanke had the other night. I think it would have been hard. It's harder to miss it than it was to score it.
I know,
Um,
I know, and
And this has been our problem all season. You know, at the end of the season, when you evaluate like they always do, top to bottom, whether you stay up or whether you go down, they evaluate the whole club and from top to bottom on the playing side. And one of the things that has cost us this season is we're not clinical enough when we're creating.
but here's a question as well. Gary O'Neill's saying this. He's saying this. Of course, Solanke comes back. He brings other players in, but Marcus Tavernier was, of course, helps us get that win against Wolves quite a few weeks back. Helps us
Absolutely.
get that win against Fulham the other day. And why are we not starting him? Over a player like Dongo, who is struggling. I think he's struggled since the international break. And, I won't go into all of it. There is some, theories on Twitter about, why he might be struggling. The international break is one. Secondly, of course, was the time. Of course, 2 minutes in to the game was the first time since sunrise that he had some food. I can fully understand why. He and
Absolutely.
there's nothing wrong with that, but at the same time, if a player, I couldn't run around having not eaten anything all day. And I can understand why he's done that. It is for his religious reasons, and fair play to him for that. But if that is going to be a challenge and going to potentially affect performance, we don't know. We don't know. These professional athletes. Me running around, on Sunday night against at Little Down against a group of lads is a bit different. But I would struggle having not eaten all day, and it's a difficult one. That's one theory I've seen. I think Tavernier should have started. Personally,
Yeah, I agree.
I think he should have started, and I think what we've got to do now is we've got to look at that Fulham win and go into this Leicester game with that side that won that game. And that was the second half team. It definitely wasn't the first half team, because if we had carried on with the first half team, we would have been beaten.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Whoever he decides to start on Saturday has got to come straight out fighting.
Exactly.
If we have a first half or a game like we have done the past two, then Leicester being with a shout. If we play like we did second half against Fulham for the whole 90 minutes, then we are in with a very good shout of getting something from the game.
This is a scrap now, and we've got to scrap for every single point we can get in every single game. Because that table is just so close, and we just need to make sure we can get as much as possible. Of course, Lloyd Kelly did speak to the press as well. We know how they play, the philosophy that their manager wants to play. I think it was a difficult first half, but saying that we applied pressure second half, and when you're chasing the game like we were, you're going to open yourself up to them maybe scoring second. But of course, we're angry at ourselves for the result, and we've got to turn it around. We're disappointed with the result now, but it doesn't waver our minds at all, to be honest. We know we have the qualities to stay up this year, and we're going to give it our all until the very last game, if it comes to that. We've discussed this, didn't we? We discussed this walking back from the game on Tuesday, and my fear, and you was quite honest in what you said. My fear is it's going to come to that last game against Everton, and I'm dreading that. But I don't think, like you said, we can't really look to that game. We can't. We've got to forget Everton at this moment in time.
Yeah, it's no good looking at that because we'll look at the table again, but when you look at that table, we could win Saturday.
Yeah.
Be out of that, go up to 14th, for example, go to Tottenham in a week's time, not get anything there, and end up back in the bottom three. Just everyone keeps leapfrogging each other, and it's just so close. This is why I'm saying, the points tally is, I think, to be absolutely safe, we're going to need 42 points.
Yeah.
It's so tight down there. I really don't think you'll see another relegation running. The longer this goes, I don't think you'll see a relegation running this close again for a while. Because normally by now, the bottom team have completely cut themselves off. Usually you start to see the second team down there starting to cut themselves off from the rest of them. And then towards the end of the season, you got about maybe 3 teams, maybe 4, playing for that last relegation spot. Where at the minute, anywhere from 20th to 12th can all be leapfrogging each other.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a little bit further down, but give them a couple of wins and they're back in the play again, aren't they? So, yeah, I mean, as I said, we've got to take one game at a time. Let's see what we can get. Even a draw won't be a bad result. It's just so tight.
Yeah, definitely. And Neto believes we can stay up. If we keep this level 100%, he said, not all teams play like Brighton, and we created good chances against a very good team. The situation is not the best, but we have a big game Saturday versus Leicester. And we have to play like we did today. I think we need to play a lot better than we did against Brighton.
I would say so as well, but I wouldn't expect any other kind of comment from the skipper, to be fair. He's trying to keep morale up, trying to keep the players focused, isn't he? So, but he switched his attention straight to the next game, which is what we've got to do now. Brighton's been and done. Nothing we can say to anything. And that's kind of Neto's mentality straight away from the off. As soon as the game's finished, it's straight to Leicester, which now here's the table. 23 points. So Saints on 23, 2 wins. They're back in it. I mean, they play City on Saturday evening, don't they? So hopefully,
I think they're gone. I think Saints are gone.
I reckon if they get beaten Saturday and we beat Leicester, and
but then again, it could be a case. Let's hope we beat Leicester.
Yeah.
And, we go on to 30 points. Southampton, even if they don't win, if Nottingham Forest don't win,
be one point behind Leicester.
They're in the same boat, because if Nottingham Forest, Everton and West Ham don't win, they're in the same boat as they were at the start of play. Just one game less.
This is what I mean. It's just everyone keeps leapfrogging everybody. You can't be sat in 13th or even at Palace, to be fair, and be worried, be as more worried or less worried than the team sat in 18th place.
Yeah.
than them sat in 19th place, because it's that close. It's not like normally by now, if you're sat sort of like 13th or 12th, normally there's quite a points
Mhm.
difference, and you're kind of thinking, well, we've got enough wins in us to stay up. Those teams in 12th, 13th, 14th, they're just as in it as much as the teams in 20th, 19th, and 18th place. This is what I mean. It's so close. I mean, the goal difference, when you look at goal difference now, we still have the worst goal difference. So if it was to come down to that, any decisions needed by goal difference, we're in a sticky situation. Hopefully it won't come to anything as dire as that. But yeah, that's one big relegation battle.
It is. To be honest, deep down, my thought before that Brighton game was, if we can get 3 points there and then beat Leicester, we're out. I don't think we would have been. I think it would have just given us a little bit of breathing space for a while. This is going to go to, and we picked out the 3 games that are going to be critical for us. West Ham, Leeds, and Southampton.
Yeah,
Personally, if we
absolutely.
can get 7 points from those, I think we should be okay. If we get 1 point from those, we've had it.
We're in big trouble.
Yeah. Oh, I think we've had it. If we don't get at least 2 wins and a draw from those, because what you've got to think as well is you're taking points off those around you. It's not a case of getting beat by somebody like Spurs. You are, by getting beat by Leicester, for example, you're giving them 3 points. They instantly go above you. And likewise with Leeds, Southampton, and West Ham, the same applies. Southampton might look dead in the water now, and to be honest, I still think they will be when we play them. But you never know. You never know. I still think, Forest have got horrible running. Leeds have got horrible running. So those two, Leicester have got quite a favourable running. Wolves have got a favourable running, but they can't beat the teams that, are the lower end of the table, seem to beat the teams at the higher end of the table.
Yeah.
Everton are Everton. They could potentially get a points deduction. If they get a points deduction, I think they're down. I think they're gone, even with, Sean Dyche in charge. It's Southampton have got a fairly easy running, and to be fair, when we look at our running, I think our running is fairly favourable, and we'd only have ourselves to blame if we don't get out of this.
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, the ball's in our court.
Yeah, I think, I would rather, even though I know this sounds stupid, even though we are in the bottom 3 at this moment in time, I'd rather be us than Nottingham Forest at this moment in time, because they've got some horrible games to come. Some very, very horrible games to come. And I think they need to be looking over their shoulders, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Well, there we are. We've discussed Brighton. We've discussed the league table. We've discussed everything else. So, of course, we've got a short little bit now on because something came out today, didn't it? About the stadium.
Yes. Yeah.
So here it is, and I'll read it through. It was from Jim Frivola. So Bournemouth's new president for business, Jim Frivola, says a renovation of the club's current stadium is not off the table. This is music to my ears, to be perfectly honest, because I don't want a shiny plastic bowl unless it has to happen. I think we do need a bigger ground. There's no hiding that. We've got to get new fans in the building. is a big priority, but we've got to be respectful to our current fans, Frivola said. There is no guarantee that there will be a new stadium. That's just a plan. Certainly, we could renovate this building. That's not off the table. As well as wanting more fans watching the Cherries, Frivola spoke on the importance of improving the matchday experience so far. This has included changing the walkout music, introducing a stadium DJ, and adding more branding in the ground, I should say. He added, the problem with music is you can never make everyone happy. We've asked the DJ to balance the music out. We're just trying to trying out different things. Nothing is set in stone. We're not going to bring in cheerleaders out here. We're not doing anything too drastic. We just want people to be proud of the facility when they come in. Oh, damn. I was hoping for cheerleaders. I was looking forward to that, especially if Mila Kunis and Margot Robbie are going to be involved.
Right.
Moving swiftly on again.
Not
a Mila Kunis fan.
No, I just can't see her walking out of Dean Court in a Bournemouth shirt with a couple of pom-poms.
No, exactly. Right, moving on. With regards to stadium, let's talk about the most important thing. Dean Court is our home, and let's be fair. The Amex, lovely stadium, big stadium, and I think Brighton have done it well. But there's other clubs, and I'm going to be critical of our neighbours here. St Mary's, for example. Now, in the Championship or in League One, that stadium is, it's horrible to have one of those stadiums. Whereas Dean Court's always intimidating. If you can renovate Dean Court, if you can put another tier on top of it, then there's something to be done there. Of course, I had Eddie Mitchell on, and Eddie Mitchell said he had plans and could do something with that to bring that up. Was it 22,000? He said. I'd have to watch it back, to be honest.
I can't remember the capacity, but what he did say was about how he had fully fledged plans for the stadium, which the club made him take down, I believe.
Yeah.
What he was saying, which I believe also consisted of, was it a new stand where the temporary stand is, and filling in the four corners? Was that?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's obviously potential there. I mean, I would hate to move from Dean Court. You've seen it happen before, where clubs move from their previous location to somewhere new, and things have gone a bit belly up for the teams.
I think it's the root side of things. I think, one of the things that I, have heard in the past is that the ground will be built, and because of the training ground moving over to Camford Magna, that can be knocked down and we can build a new stadium there. So it would be in the same proximity. However, we got to think about the atmosphere and everything. The atmosphere was a bit flat, I've got to be honest, against Brighton.
Yes.
It's not always the greatest of atmospheres, but, let's pick out some new stadiums. Stadium MK, flat. Medeski, flat. St Mary's can be flat.
Arsenal can be
flat. So one of the biggest stadiums in the country can be flat. Anfield, since they renovated it, quite flat. I think at 9-0 down, we made more noise than them.
Yeah.
That's what I worry about. I don't want that. What I want is a loud stadium, a stadium that is intimidating, stadium that fans don't like going to. away fans don't like going to, and away teams don't like going to, because it's unique. A team that does this well, although saying that, we didn't see the new stand opened. Fulham, that's unique. That's unique. A unique stadium, made a bit of noise there. Any others you can think of? Everton's always quite loud. They're normally quite loud. Old stadium, squashed.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot that are loud. It's just the odd one that here and there, like your typical sort of Rose Bowl shaped stadium. That's
Yeah.
kind of dire experience.
Millwall's a new stadium though. Millwall's a fairly new stadium, the new Den. Although saying that, this is Millwall, isn't it? We're talking about here.
Well, no, and it's also the new Den. I think it's been around for about 30 years, so it's not as new as you think it is.
Bloody hell! I didn't even realise it was that
Pretty
old.
certain they moved in there in the mid-90s.
God, bloody hell! I can remember the old Den, the old Den, I should say. So I didn't even realise it was that old now. Time is flying by,
Pretty
isn't it?
certain. Don't quote me, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, there we are. If Millwall fans watching this, let us know when you opened your stadium. But yeah, interesting. I think with regards to the DJ, I couldn't care less what's played music before this.
I think it's a good idea though to try and mix up the match day experience. Definitely.
Yeah, there will always be people though that say, "Oh, I want this playing," or "I want that playing." It's just like, me when I go to a match, I remember years ago, and we're talking probably about 2017 actually. It used to be the same old songs on repeat. There was a James Arthur one that was playing, I think Marshmello or something that was playing, and it seemed to be every match the same songs. But yeah, there's always going to be somebody who complains about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't it? We had Power by Kanye West, didn't we? That played for quite a while as well.
Yeah.
I wonder why we stopped that one. Well, there we are. There's that about the stadium. So, yes, quite interesting. We
Quite
do
an
have.
interesting segment that was, wasn't it? To see Jim's opinion on what might be happening.
Yeah, definitely.
But if we could just bring the attention quickly to this one.
Yes.
Do you want to take it away, Craig, or would you like me to?
Yeah, you go for it, Matt.
Okay, so us at the channel here, we're looking for any fans that would like to get involved with us. Whether you want to come on and host some shows or get involved with cherry picking, or if you just want to be a content creator for us, as we're looking to expand the channel over the summer. If you are interested, then you can get in contact with us on this email address at utciadafcb@gmail.com or via Messenger on one of our Facebook pages. So we're happy to hear from everybody and anybody. If you're interested, please get in touch.
Yep, definitely do it. And we've also been doing our Hall of Fame, haven't we?
We certainly have.
Yep. So let me go on to this. And of course, everybody was voted on Twitter, and we have our new inductee, another man, of course, that was interviewed, the very first video on this channel,
Yeah.
a Lufa Blizzard. So congratulations, Lufa. You are alongside Big Fletch in the UTC IAD Hall of Fame. But not only that, here's some of the comments as well. There by Dave, Ian, Mark, Martin, Mick, Helen, and Mike as well. So some of the comments there. But not only that, because it was so close, we did add in Neil Moss, who also joins Fletch and of course Luther in the Hall of Fame. So a fantastic goalkeeper for the football club. And there is the voting.
So actually, the way it actually worked was that Luther won all the votes on Facebook.
Yes.
And Mossy, obviously, as you can see here, won the Twitter poll. So we thought it was only fair to induct both players.
Yep, makes sense. So yeah, congratulations, Luther and Neil, on getting entered into it. I got it the wrong way round, didn't I? Got it the wrong way round.
Yeah, so it was Mossy won the Twitter and
Luther won the Facebook. There we go. See, at least somebody knows what they're bloody doing. So there we are. That is where we're up to at the moment. And here's our next contenders. So go on, take it away, Matt.
Yep, so first one, former defender Warren Cummins, well known around the club, Warren, known as a bit of the team joker, if you talk to some of the previous players. Over 250 appearances for Bournemouth, scoring 5 times. And joining Warren on the contenders list this week is Jerry Payton. Played 200 times for the Cherries, won the 3rd Division Championship in 86-87, and was also a full international with the Republic of Ireland while he was at Dean Court. Very, very popular player in the late 80s. And the final contender for this week is Matt Holland. Signed from West Ham as a youngster. Come in during the Great Escape season. Made 116 appearances, 18 goals. Very, very classy midfielder from what I can remember seeing of him. And went on to play in the Premier League for quite some time with the likes of Charlton and Ipswich, and also made an appearance at the World Cup for Republic of Ireland. So, yeah, that's our 3 contenders. But what we are hoping for next week is that we've asked our friend Lawrence Martin from Baggage Wars, and a lifelong Cherries fan, to pick a player of his choice to enter the Hall of Fame.
Yes, matey.
Yes, matey.
Honestly, he's a legend. So, Lawrence, we are waiting for your contribution. So, yes, I think pretty much that wraps up everything this week. Of course, hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get the 3 points up at Leicester, Matt. So, yeah, it's going to be nerve-wracking, but fingers crossed. Disappointed about Brighton, but we move on. We've got to. This is now the business end. This is the business end, and this is such an important game because getting 3 points against Leicester moves us away from them. That would put us 5 points away from them. 7 points, well, because let's be honest, they're not going to beat Southampton. 7 points away from Saints. I know weirder things have happened. So Southampton, if they get beat by Man City, yeah, that's that. I'm sure Forest will drop in as well. So yeah, thank you again, Matt, for joining us. And we do dedicate this show to one sadly departed Cherry. Matt, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, so John Sainty, who signed for Bournemouth in 1970 and was part of the famous 70-71 promotion season. Served as an apprentice at Tottenham Hotspur and went on to have various coaching roles after his playing days. with the likes of Norwich and Manchester City, Chester, Burnley, Stockport, and also was an academy director for Southampton. So yeah, rest in peace to John Sente.
And all our thoughts are with John's family and friends at this extremely sad time. Until the next show, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you then.